everybody, it's me, MiaFran again. Welcome back to my channel and to another A3 review. So I am solo today. I'm not sure when we're gonna be back to recording together. Me and Chantal, she's gonna be taking a break from making YouTube videos for a little bit. So, when she does come back, we are gonna, continue making videos together and doing reviews and everything. Hopefully she can come back soon and we can talk more about A3. But let's just go ahead and get right into the review for this week's new episode. So this episode was technically it's episode number 14 in the lineup, but I'm gonna put it as episode 2 for the autumn and winter groups. So yeah, it's episode 14, a mismatched buddy pair, or episode 2 of the autumn and winter groups. This is continuing the story of the autumn troop. So what happened in this episode, which it happens the same in the game, and I guess I didn't really think, like, I don't know, I feel like the game does a good job of, and I don't want to try to compare the show to the game too much, like the way that the game tells the story, but I mean, you kind of have to when when it's stuff like this, like an adaptation of a game story. But I think that they did a good job of relating what happens in the story. So as you can, as we can see, continuing from last week, both Bandai and Juza are still kind of like at each other's throats. They're having trouble kind of being not only just roommates, but it's hard for Bandai especially to not pick a fight with Juza. And so we're finally getting into, okay guys, we need to figure out what we're gonna do for our show, and we gotta pick a troop leader. And they're gonna continue on with having the troop leader be the lead for the first show. So Izumi, or the director, Kantoku, she decides, like, okay, well, you guys can choose who you want to be, like, who thinks they would be the best leader, who wants to volunteer. Because at first, she always asks for volunteers first, who wants to step up and be the leader. So nobody really says anything until she's like, well, I think maybe Sakyo would be a good leader, and Sakyo immediately says, no, too old, like, I think one of the younger people should be the leader, because it'll also, teach them, how to, it'll help them grow up, basically. He says, I can help with, making sure the group is good, like, I can kind of enforce rules if I have to, I have no problem doing that, but I'm not going to be the leader. So, Izumi agrees, and she's like, okay, well, who wants to do it? And Bandai is like, okay, well, I guess I'll do it. He's gonna be a leader. So she agrees, and even Sakyo is kind of like, I don't know if that's a good idea. He doesn't seem like he's like the least interested in acting out of, all of us. Like, he literally is just here. I mean, technically, yes, Bandai is technically there just because he was following Juza, wanted to pick a fight with him, and Juza walked into the audition, and yeah, well, in the game, Matsukawa finds Bandai like following Juza, and he sees that Juza's going to the audition, so he kind of basically drags Bandai to the audition, but we didn't see that animated. But that's what happens in the game. And basically, Izumi's like, I think it would be good for him because maybe it'll spark his interest more in wanting to do good, because if he's put in a position of like being the leader, like, it kind of forces him to take it seriously and, do the things that the leaders are supposed to do, like, pay attention and, be a good role model. Because if he doesn't do a good job, then of course, like, Juza's gonna call him out on his shit. Like, well, dude, you're not being a very good leader, or, vice versa. Like, Izumi can say, like, well, I guess that means you're not, you weren't the right choice for being a leader. So it really does force him to kind of like take it seriously in the end. So that's why she chooses him, and that's a good idea. Sometimes you do want to make sure that you put someone who could have the potential to be a great leader or be a great actor, in terms of like when you have people in charge of each other when you're directing a show, is yeah, you definitely want to make sure. I mean, sure, it's great when you have someone who's really enthusiastic and, you know, wants to do their best and you know they could be a good leader, but sometimes you really do have to kind of choose somebody who maybe needs that little push a little bit more than others. Which is why, you know, at least with when I was in theater, like, there's a lot of favoritism. And you know what? I'm not gonna lie. I was one of those kids that was always picked to do things. You know, I have no shame and I have no regret because I also, you know, maybe played favorites a little bit. But, you know, when you work with these people every single day on multiple occasions and you work with them on multiple shows, when they're in different positions, you know, we've seen some of these other castmates from the summer and now the autumn troupe where they were helping out with the previous productions in other positions, like, you know, Omi's taking the pictures and Yuki's also designing the costumes for everybody and Suzuru's writing the script. Like, once you kind of understand where everybody is within the group, like, you kind of, you know, grow and learn with them and from them. So you kind of see from the director perspective point of view, like, where they would fit perfectly in terms of, oh, I think I can give them something bigger to do in terms of, like, okay, you're in charge of this now because you've shown me that you know, you can handle this kind of pressure or work as well. Or, hey, you know what, like, they showed that they can, you know, do well under pressure, and I think if I put them into this position, this you know, job I need them to do, I think they would also, you know, step it up and give 110%, you know, as a member of not just the cast but as a member of the crew or, you know, the backstage help or whatever. Like, you know, sometimes it does end up being like the favorites, or maybe, you know, you kind of go off the beaten path and choose somebody like who everybody else may think, you know, why would you choose that person? They don't seem like a good fit. But again, you don't know what the director is thinking, so you can't really say, oh, well, they're a terrible choice because, you know, have you worked with that person for a long time? No. And if you haven't worked with that person for a long time in terms of being a director, like, sometimes you can just tell, you can just see that, like, somebody does have the potential, like, they do have raw talent. Like, Bandri had a good audition, he had a good read, so she definitely sees that, like, there is some potential in him that she can pull out during this production. She just kind of needs to make sure that, you know, she's making the right decisions in terms of, like, okay, well, he's gonna be the leader and he's also gonna be the lead, so that's also, like, a lot of pressure on top of being the leader and being, you know, making sure that everybody else is doing their part and helping out when he can. And so that's also why we have the events that go on in this episode later, where Bandri and Juza are just fighting way too much. So Sakyo decides, you know what, I just fuck that shit. I'm just gonna handcuff you guys together. You guys can't get away from each other. But also because they receive the script, Suzuru finally kind of talks with Izumi and decides, like, what the play is gonna be about, and it's like a, like, gangster kind of play, but like a mobster kind of play. Not quite like Yakuza levels of mobster, that's later on in the game, but a very, like, you know, like Italian, like Goodfellas kind of thing, or The Godfather kind of vibes, I guess you would say, kind of thing. And the costumes I love the costumes in this play, so can't wait to see them in their costumes later on down the line. I love the costumes for this one. Costumes play a really important part in this story for the Autumn Troupe, and we'll see why later. But it's like, it's definitely a lesson that they both need to learn, because Izumi also asks Suzuru, okay, so if, you know, because she talks with Sakyo first, he's like, this needs to be like a buddy kind of story, like, we technically need to have, like, more than one lead, like a co-lead. So Izumi asks Suzuru, hey, can you make sure that you give Juza a really big part too? Like, Bandai's the lead, but Juza also has to have, like, a part, you know, as big as that, like a co-lead. A secondary protagonist kind of lead, or role. So We get the Roman episode, that's what the play is called, and Bunny and Juza, their characters are constantly working together on stage. They're both together on stage, they have lots of scenes together, so of course the two of them are already going to be fucking mad because, you know, they don't want to be around each other. They already have to be roommates, and they don't like that. And that's also why Sakio handcuffs them, because he's trying to make them understand, like, no, you, like, in order for the play to be good, you guys have to get along, because your characters, you know, work together and eventually get along in the play. So you have to overcome the dumb bullshit that you're going through with each other before we can put on a good show. And of course, you know, Sakio is like, you know, I want to put on a damn good show. Like, I didn't join this troupe to, you know, fuck around. Like, he wants the show to be good. And of course, Omi and Taichi also want the show to be good too. So they're also kind of like, you know, they're kind of like a little sus about this tactic that Sakio is using. But even Izumi is like, no, you know, that's fine. Sounds good. So they're handcuffed for, I don't know, until they can work together, basically. And so I kind of remember this part happening in the game. Of course, I liked actually seeing it happen, seeing it animated, because of course the game has limitations, so it doesn't really show you anything, it just kind of explains what's going on. And of course they have like the different things that they're saying. But basically, they're handcuffed to each other for a really long time. My only question is, how the fuck are they changing their clothes with those handcuffs on? Because they change into their pajamas, into like their normal clothes. They have like, you know, other clothes. They're like, how do they do that without taking the handcuffs off? I guess it doesn't really matter, but that was one thing I noticed, which I'm just kind of like, the fuck, but whatever. Like, that's not important. I'm sure there's still a lot of people who probably like, how did they do that? I don't know. No clue. But the climax of the episode, so Izumi is gonna go grocery shopping, and they're stuck waiting outside because they're just like, we're just gonna wait for Sakio to come home so he can take these handcuffs off of us, because Sakio has the key. And she's just like, okay, well, I'll see you guys later, I'm going to the store. And they tell her to be careful, and immediately after she leaves, she gets her purse stolen by this guy on like a motorbike, or like a moped or something. And of course, Bandri and Juza both hear it, so they have to go together, and they're like, what happened? She's like, oh, my purse got stolen, and they see the guy like driving away, and so they gotta chase after him, and they do like the most action-y kind of like chase, and they kind of, you know, they do work together because, you know, they're cuffed to each other, so like they're forced to you know, work together and run as fast as they can after this dude. They climb on top of the roofs of the houses and buildings in the neighborhood just to get to this dude, and eventually they catch up with him and they get her purse back, and they even kind of like acknowledge each other when they like beat the guy up. We don't see them beat him up, but like it's implied that they beat him up, because Sakio, when he comes home, he's like, wait, so what happened? What did you guys do? And they're like, oh no, we took that guy to the police, and we just didn't write we didn't stay for filing out the paperwork or anything. We just left. It's too much of a hassle. And then they both kind of make snide comments, like out loud, like, oh, I don't know how we got this dirty. I don't know what happened. We just, you know, must have gotten dirty from all the stuff going on. I don't know exactly what they say. I can't remember, but that was pretty funny. But they both acknowledge each other's strength, because this dude punches Juza in the face, and Bandri is kind of just like, oh, he punched you in the face, dude. Like, I can't believe he just did that. And you didn't even flinch. And Juza's like, well, you know, I am pretty strong, and this dude is already like scared now, and you know, they both beat him up. But they worked together. They get their handcuffs taken off, but it does show that they can work together and understand each other from a certain angle and standpoint. So, you know, they're learning and they're getting better at being around each other. Even though Bandri really does love picking fights with Juza, which It can get a little bit annoying in the game, but I think at this point in the game, he's less like that. But again, we have to get through this part of the story first, the introductory part of their story, to kind of learn everything. But I think it's honestly a vast improvement from the game in terms of storytelling, because I can actually see what's going on, and we can definitely understand where everyone is coming from. So I believe now what I believe is going to happen next is we're going to focus more on the play and how everyone fits into their roles. Omi is playing the villain in this play. He's like a cop, like a corrupt cop kind of guy, kind of character. And Taichi is gonna be playing, I think it's Juza's character's younger brother, and he's like a sickly character. And then Sakyo is like the boss, but he's like Bandri's boss, and Juza's from like another clan or something. I forgot what the play was like totally about. I'm sure they're gonna explain it later, like in the next episode or the next few episodes. But it's that kind of play, like they're screwing both of us. We gotta, work together and fight, our common enemy. And so that's basically what the play is about. I'm curious to see when we're going to get the other monologue introductions from everybody else, because every few chapters in the first Autumn story, it starts off with "this is so and so's backstory." So like first off, we start off with Bandri because he's the leader of the troop. So we start with his monologue. I assume next week we're gonna get maybe Juza's story next. I can't remember the stories in order. But I know, like, Taichi and Omi, they're, like, the last ones to give their story. Or is it Juza that's last? I can't remember. It's been a while since I've read the Autumn Troop main story. I probably need to reread it. But I'm excited to see what they're gonna do next. I love, because the game does this too, I love that we get to see the other troops. We get to see the boys from the spring and summer troops, like, also hanging out in the background, like, giving advice, like... That's gonna be fun to see. I like seeing it from their perspective because they're kind of like, they're like seasoned vets now in terms of like, oh, we've already put on a show. Like, we know, how it is. Like, if you guys ever need help, let us know. We'll give you, some tips, some pointers on how you guys can, learn more from each other and get along better. Which, we saw that with the summer troop. When Tenma does go to Sakuya and asks him for advice. So we're definitely gonna get some scenes like that. And finally, they don't have to eat curry all the time anymore because we have Omi and he's like a good cook. Like, he's asking them like, oh, what do you want for dinner? And like, he comes up with these like marvelous kind of dishes and ideas, and everyone's kind of like, ooh, okay, we can have that. And of course they gotta make fun of Izumi because all she makes is curry. But that's exciting. I can't wait to see. There's a future scene between like Taichi and Omi that like I am really excited to see. For all you Taichi stans out there, y'all know what scene I'm talking about. That's gonna be very interesting to watch. It was hard to listen to and look at in the game, but I'm really excited. And I believe we are going to see more of the God Troop soon as well, so that's going to be interesting. The God Troop is that troop when they were passing out flyers during the summer show, that like dude, they're in the opening, that dude who's like, oh, you guys suck, like those people, we're going to see a little bit more of them soon, because they play a part later on in the story, but they are definitely going to show up. And we'll see exactly what they're all about later on. But other than that, I think that's it for me. If you guys want to learn more or want to hear my thoughts and Chantal's thoughts about Season 1 Part 1 of A3, so the Spring and Summer Troops, I will leave a link in the description to our bonus episode of the podcast where we discussed the first 12 episodes of A3. And hopefully we can definitely make another bonus episode on this second half later on when it's finished. So I definitely think we'll be able to do that as well. But if you guys have not played A3, I highly recommend it. It's a very fun game. It's a gacha game. It is not an otome based gacha game at all. I know it looks like it because you play a female main character and all of the actors in the troops are male characters, and some of them do seem interested in the main character, but it's never like canonically addressed. Well, except one character. But other than that, it's more in terms of like the kind of story where it's not otome based. It's more like Idol 7, where the game is more like you're just kind of like in charge of everybody, making sure that they're doing what they're supposed to because you are the director. But of course, it does have a lot of cute boys in it, and it's a fun gacha game. And if you really like theater, I really highly recommend it as well. Because as a former theater kid, it really brings back memories for me, and I'm sure I'm going to be talking more about that in future episodes. So, thank you guys so much for listening. Leave some comments down below what you thought of the episode, or what you're thinking of the series so far, or if you've played the game and you know the story already. Let me know if you think it's a pretty good adaptation. I think it's doing a good job. Much better than other anime based on mobile gacha games I can say for this season, so I definitely highly recommend you guys play the game. It's free to download on iTunes and Google Play, so you can definitely download it on your Android or iPhone. I'm not sponsored by the game in any way, shape, or form. I just really like the game, and I think you guys should play it if you like games like Uchapri Shining Live, Mr. Love, Oh Baby, gacha games like that with lots of pretty boys, then I think you would definitely enjoy A3. Pick your favorite troop, pick your favorite boys, and go buck wild, I guess. But I'll see you guys later. Thank you so much once again for watching. All the links are in the description below. Follow me on Twitter. Please sub to me if you haven't already. Sub to the podcast, and of course sub to Chantal. Give her some love, show her some love, and go follow her on Twitter as well. So have fun, stay safe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!